Hey everyone, I recently had a biopsy on my face to check for skin cancer. I have one on my back as well, but that's not visible. Because I have specific wound care instructions and I don't want to be asked about the band-aid on my face for the rest of time, I'm going to do some voiceover work for the next few weeks and I hope that's okay. Today is a Q&A with questions collected from you fine people. Before we get started, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and away we go. So this question says, can you tell something about brumation? Are your geckos on it right now? If so, for how long? Our Leo has been hiding for a week or so, and it always feels so weird and makes us wondering if everything's okay, although we realize he's hiding because of the brumation. So first and foremost, I have a video about brumation on my channel that you might find helpful. One of my geckos is currently brumating, my African fat-tailed gecko Oberon. He does it around this time of year every year and completely goes off food. If there are no other signs of illness and the daytime hours in your household have shortened, the house is cooler, it's likely brumation. The best thing to do if you're really nervous about it is to get a vet's opinion. Interrupting brumation of an animal that's in heavy sleep is not going to be pleasant, but I haven't noticed Leos tend to brumate super hard. This question asks, what are you most looking forward to in 2024? Do you have any vacation or travel plans, and if so, how do you handle finding someone to care for your rescue, especially since you have some disabled animals? What's something you didn't expect when you first started your rescue? I am most looking forward to moving to Michigan and having my finished reptile room and all that comes with it. Honestly, when I tell you it's a dream coming true, that's an understatement. It's so much work to renovate a house. It is so much work to do all the planning for the reptile room. It's expensive, but I'm not the kind of person who doesn't like working hard toward a goal, so I'm just really excited for it to be done and to get to enjoy the benefits of the hard work. I'm telling you, I will sob. I don't go on vacation often, nor for long periods of time, but I am lucky that I keep reptiles, which are lower maintenance than other pets, and that my brother will do chores and checks if I am gone for more than a couple days. Something I didn't expect when I first started rescuing is that after a few years, I would become so riddled with anxiety and obsessive thoughts that a lot of the joy of reptile keeping would be removed from me. The constant pressure to upgrade, to be better than I was just a few months ago is unrealistic. I would demolish enclosures that were perfectly fine because they weren't good enough in my brain, like the background wasn't good enough or one plant died so it was all trash, and I suddenly felt that the enclosure was too small and had to just start from scratch. The constant concern over who is going to get sick or the intensity of grief, I wish I had been more mindful of these things and started therapy sooner. I have a loose diagnosis that I don't feel comfortable sharing yet because it's loose and not like a firm diagnosis, and because I don't really want anyone's opinion of me to change or for any sort of stigmas or for people to say that like because of this diagnosis I shouldn't be allowed to keep animals. Like it's just a complicated thing to share online, but having that loose diagnosis and being in therapy has helped me learn about myself and how I can navigate what I do in a healthier way. This question says, firstly, I hope to goodness you don't have cancer, lovely lady. My question is about my blind gecko Caspian, Casper for short. Is almost completely blind. He can see light changes and some shadows, which is how I guide him to eat. Is there anything I can do to enrich his life a little more? He rarely uses his hides, sploots out in the middle of the enclosure. I gave him a smooth rock and some pieces of coconut bark for different textures. No fake plants. They make it hard for him to get around. Any advice is so very welcome, and thank you for what you do. Thank you so much for your kind comments. I also hope I don't have cancer. I wonder if you could introduce another texture, like maybe a piece of driftwood. It's hard to say without seeing the enclosure, but a big way you can enrich your gecko's life is through taste and smell. It's good to offer a wide variety of feeder insects for health reasons, but it's also better for stimulating their sense of smell and taste. You'll even notice different responses to different insects. If you want, you can leave a comment below about the insects that your gecko will eat, and I'll see if there's some others that I can recommend, and if there's anyone in the comments that can recommend some too. Can a leopard gecko choke on shed? It looks like it sometimes, but then again it doesn't, so it's confusing. Prayers to you. Thank you. It is pretty uncommon for a leopard gecko to choke on anything. That being said, I have seen cases of geckos that suffocated on shed, moss, and paper towel, either by accident or because the gecko had compromised health or disability. Leopard geckos are meant to eat their shed, and it can come off in pretty big pieces. I wouldn't be too worried about it. If anything, just make sure your gecko has proper humidity and a humid hide to facilitate easy sheds. This question says, does it have to be pet related? I'm kind of curious if you are watching anything now that the last episode of Attack on Titan is out. But speaking of Mikasa, if you do need pet questions, I want to know how the garters are doing, and if you have any plans to introduce them together. Do you have to slowly introduce them in separate rooms like cats? I only have the one snake, and she's a solitary dirt noodle, but I love the idea of a big garter enclosure for garter snakes, and I haven't seen too much on how to cohab garters. I most definitely finished Attack on Titan, and I also got a tattoo from the last manga chapter, like right before the last episode came out. If you're at all interested in my life outside of reptile keeping, I do post on social media, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, as Jessica Fennon, which is my name. I'm not currently watching anything, but I recently rewatched the show Normal People, which devastates me in the most delicious way every time. My garters are doing well. Mikasa just had a shed and I was able to get all of it. She's so big. I do plan to introduce them soon, maybe even early spring next year now that Sasha is an appropriate size. To introduce them, they'll be fed ahead of time, like really well fed, then placed into a temporary neutral enclosure before being moved into a shared enclosure. That shared enclosure is going to be an entirely new build, bigger than what Mikasa and Sasha are in now. From what I have read and heard, the best way to introduce them is to do it when they have full bellies and you've let them settle for a little after feeding, then place them together in an enclosure where they'll be inclined to hide together. So maybe not like a bear setup, but one with very few physical hides and one that would fit them both so they're inclined to hide together. They have to be observed, of course, during the transition and during all future feedings. It's going to be tricky, and I'm actually super stressed about it, and I have been since day one. Like, since I brought Sasha home, I was like, okay, this is... Of course, Sasha was too small at the time, but I was like, this is going to be really stressful when the time does come, because I want everything to go right. I don't want Mikasa or Sasha to try to eat each other or hurt each other. It's a very nerve-wracking thing. So yeah, if there's anyone who has any tips or suggestions about cohabitating garters, please leave them down below. This question says, I would love some knowledge on how to feed roaches. They are usually really fast, and my geckos aren't great at catching them. I have a similar issue with feeding crickets. I could also use some fun gift ideas for the geckos. I hope your biopsy comes back with no issues. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thank you for your kind words. My advice is to go to the rodent section of the pet store, like any pet store, Petco, PetSmart, whatever, and choose a ceramic dish. They're cheap, they come in tons of sizes, and they're super smooth, so feeder insects can't escape them. If you want to allow your gecko to hunt, you can leave the insects in the bowl and allow the insects to run around. That would entice your gecko and also facilitate their hunting instincts, but without the risk of the doobie roaches getting loose, or discoid roaches, any kind of roaches that you're offering. Crickets, I can't offer much advice on because I don't offer them. I hate crickets. That's just my personal beef. You could simply tongue feed both insects too. So you could grab a doobie roach and offer it on tongs to your gecko, and the same thing with a cricket. So for fun gift ideas, you could get cork bark or driftwood. You could get a new type of feeder insect they haven't tried before. You could get a little silicone mold of whatever shape you want. It could be like paw prints or snowflakes or whatever. And put some rapashi grub pie in there and make them like little snacks in the shape of whatever you want. You can create an obstacle course in an enclosed space or let them free hunt in it. You can get a new plant. Really anything, any sort of addition to your gecko's life could be seen as like a gift or enrichment. I have a question about the shelf liner you use and have linked in your Amazon affiliate. I'm part of a Facebook group that says the type of liner isn't safe because it's not food grade and shouldn't be exposed to high temperatures above 80 degrees. They have a screenshot from a duck brand representative confirming this. The post was from 2021 though. Do you have any updated info that the shelf liner is currently safe? I don't actually currently use shelf liner. I stopped due to ease of paper towel. Just like, in truth, with how many animals I have, it became, and also like renovating a house, it's not even like the amount, it's just the less time that I have to sit and like properly disinfect cabinet liner. It was easier to just throw out paper towel and put new paper towel in. So I haven't used it for, I would say, over a year at this point. I will say I haven't seen the screenshot from the duck brand representative, but I have heard concerns throughout the community. If temperatures over 80 are unsafe due to the material putting off fumes, then it shouldn't be used by humans in general, because during the summertime, if like you don't have AC or if you live in a warm climate, would that also make it not safe? A lot of people put their dishes on kitchen cabinet liner or their food. So then would the dishes or food not also get contaminated by the fumes? So there's a lot of things that, you know, we could use for our reptiles or we could use for ourselves that could be dangerous. I haven't seen that screenshot personally, but I'm also not going to negate the fact that that could very well be a risk. And so if it's better to be safe than sorry, then you probably should not use kitchen cabinet liner. An example of something else that we might use for our reptiles that could put off fumes, and I've seen other people talk about this, is plastic plants. But I also don't see the same level of people talking about how it's unsafe as they have with kitchen cabinet liner. So that's just something to keep in mind. I also went and reviewed the Duck brand, which is the brand that I used in the past, and also the one that the screenshot is supposedly from, though I haven't seen it. And they said that they are machine washable. The kitchen cabinet liner can be put in the washing machine, which definitely means that they get hotter than 80 degrees. Would that also not make them safe then? Because when you take them out, they're leaching those fumes. So it's tricky. I'm not here to defend duck liner by any means. I'm just saying that there might be a lot of things that we use for our reptiles that we don't think about as being unsafe. Weigh the risks and the benefits of every decision you make for your reptile and do the very best with what you can. Now, that doesn't mean that, say you stay away from kitchen cabinet liner and you choose paper towel, that doesn't mean that suddenly all of the risks are out of the window. I just want that to be kept in mind. Again, I'm not advocating for kitchen cabinet liner or paper towel or anything in general. I'm just saying, whatever choice you make, just be aware that there's going to be risks and benefits to each. Someone asked, how many pets do you have in total? And I had to sit and count a couple times to get it right. But there are in total 75 animals in my care, the vast majority of which are leopard geckos. I have 36 leopard geckos, 3 African fat-tailed geckos, 1 blue-tongued skink, 1 red-eyed crocodile skink, 2 axolotls, 1 tiger salamander, 12 crested geckos, 1 gargoyle gecko, 1 leachianus gecko, 1 fire skink, 1 Chinese cave gecko, 2 garter snakes, 4 white tree frogs, 1 chubby frog, 1 fire-bellied toad, 6 yellow-bellied toads, and my dog Jackson. Can you please make a video about enclosure adjustments for disabled beardies? Mine only has 2 legs. I most definitely can and will in the future when I work with disabled beardies. Notice how I said when, not if. People on Patreon know. Here are some tips you might find helpful though. My disabled geckos struggle moving on substrate, so I recommend something not loose. Tile, I think, when it's smooth, would facilitate ease of movement. I'm not sure how your beardie is moving, but try to get tile without a rough or textured surface in case they get any repetitive contact wounds from where they might rub against the ground as they move. I wouldn't recommend an overly sized or elaborate enclosure so that your beardie can get in and out of the hotspot with ease and to reduce overall stress and strain. I think enrichment can be provided easily with feeder insects or time outside the enclosure, so I don't think that the enclosure has to be super enriching. I don't know your dragon's climbing abilities, but it's best to keep whatever is in the enclosure low-ish to the ground so they can't fall and get wounded. Okay, now that's all the questions. I thank you guys so much for being here. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you're interested about the biopsy results, I'll post them on my own personal Instagram and things like that, but if I have a lot of people wondering, I can make a community post here about it. Again, I thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful December and holiday season, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!